What's up, Chargers fans? It is so much nicer to look for stats and information after a win because everything's really just fun at this point. And one of the questions that I had after the game, even though I really liked the game plan, was, what happened to the Herbert under center play action bootleg, either throws or keepers that they potentially could have been running, that they showed that they could do in the preseason, that they could do at training camp and at the scrimmage. They were running these looks, and I haven't rewatched the entire game, but I don't recall many instances, if any at all, of Herbert being under center and running this play action bootleg sort of look. Now they did run play action, but definitely not from the look of like an outside zone, strong lead, run kind of look, and then bootleg throw. Because they were doing some plays like this, like here's a couple plays just from the scrimmage. And I figured it'd be a big part of their game plan. It is a big part of the Shanahan run game, passing game. And the biggest question for me was what happened in the red zone, because you see that play right there. Granted, I think it was a bit of a blown coverage, but I really do think that they could work this in the red zone. And I wasn't seeing that to Parham, to Williams, whoever it was. And so I was wondering, why didn't they go ahead and run more of those looks? But of course, there's an answer for everything if you find enough statistics. And if you have a guy like Arjun on your team. So I went ahead and looked at a couple of ways to answer that question. One is very, very basic, but another one is a little bit more of a deep dive, which really speaks to how much Staley does, I would assume this is the case here, does value the analytics and what the data says, because this particular look may not be the best option from this game. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So last year, Herbert, play action versus non-play action. Again, it's just play action. So it's not like it's all the under center bootleg, yada, yada throws. But from play action, you can tell that his passer rating versus non-play action is about 20 points higher. So in theory, you want this guy to be throwing on play action. I believe I believe Rivers was like the king of play action in terms of grades. He was excellent at play action passes. Herbert, very good as well. Obviously, like you see here, a 20-point jump for him. So why not run more play action? Yesterday, or excuse me, whenever you're listening to this, I don't know. Against the Washington football team, of the 49 dropbacks he had, only 13 of them were out of play action. And again, of those 13, I don't know how many were from him under center and running the looks that I thought they would be showing the Washington football team. I think a lot of it was kind of like that shotgun, almost kind of looking like an RPO play action kind of role, not exactly the under center play action bootleg that I thought they were going to run. So, what happened there, I don't know, but you can tell that even in the play action passes that they ran, his completion percentage dropped about 10%. Now, I'm sure that's partially the responsibility of the receivers and that they kind of caused that lower completion percentage, but it is what it is. So again, why weren't they running more of this look? Well, I think the obvious first answer, and this is one that anyone could have guessed, is that the Washington football team has a very good defensive line. And, see as far as back as last year, 4 guys with 30 or more pressures, basically 3 guys with 40 pressures or more. I know Young has 39, but I believe if he played all 16 games, it would be 40 or more. So a very strong, stout defensive line. Now, we all know how this turned out, which is why it's so fun to talk about this. But when you're facing a defensive front that is very, very good, why would you want to hold onto the ball longer? And that's what happens in play action. Oops. And Justin Herbert on play action passes last year held the ball for 3.09 seconds. Obviously, if you look, his passer rating was very good, don't get me wrong. But when you're doing play action, you are holding onto the ball longer. You're leaving your lineman open to be beaten at some point. After 2.5 seconds, like the lineman should hold the blocks for 2.5, 3 seconds. After that, you're hoping to get rid of it. Anytime you have to hold on to it longer, at some point, one guy of Young, Sweat, Allen, Payne, any of these guys are eventually going to win, especially if you're scrambling for whatever reason and the lineman doesn't know exactly what you're doing there. So last year, Herbert held on to it for 3.09 seconds per play action attempt, which is a very, very long time for people who are trying to block. So here's the interesting part. So that's like kind of the obvious one, right? Don't hold on to the ball long against good pass rushers. Well, it turns out if you look even further, and again, thank you, Arjun, for this. If you look even further at it, the Washington football team in 2020 was actually 7th in EPA versus play action passes and 3rd in EPA versus their defense, that is, The third in EPA versus play action bootleg passes, which basically means don't run this. Don't do this very often because that's what the data is telling you. Even though it's a part of your offense and it should be a big part of their offense moving forward or in different games, against the Washington football team, it was a bad idea. Play action in general wasn't very good, or they were very good against play action in general, and they were really good, a top 3 unit in EPA versus play action bootleg passes. So everything that the Chargers were working for in the offseason and all that they were trying to, establish in their passing game as a part and extension of their run game, they basically had to throw that out. And I like that though, because if you're stuck, oh, I just want to do my thing, we're going to win things my way, and that's that. We're going to play our game and force them to beat us. Or you could just ditch the part that they're very good at, that the Washington football team is very good against. Maybe don't run it as much and try other things. And that's what they did. Right. So, like, again, only 13 dropbacks, only 12 attempts in play action. But the time to throw for that game dropped significantly to 2.39 seconds. Right. So instead of holding on to it for 3.09 seconds on play action passes, in general, and this is play action and not play action and even screen passes, Herbert held on to the ball for only 2.39 seconds, which is great because, one, you're getting the ball out quickly. You're not having to worry about the defensive line. And two, the Washington football team defense in general is very good at play action. So in theory, the longer you hold on to the ball and the more play action you run, and the more bootlegs you run, the worse you're going to be. So why do that? That's something I think we would have seen from the previous regime. I think if Anthony Lynn were out there, granted, I think they'd be running it first off. But if Anthony Lynn's regime were out there, particularly with probably the Shane Steichen, group, if you will, they probably would just be like, you know what, we're good at play action, so let's do it. And again, Herbert is great at play action. That he is better in terms of passer rating at play action, only almost 20 points higher. It goes from a good grade to a great grade. He's good at it, but the Washington football team is good at defending it, particularly those bootleg passes. And again, Lynn and that regime probably would have said, yeah, let's go for it because we're good at it. And there's some merit to that. Herbert's good at play action passes, but you have an offensive line that is new, rookie left tackle. Everybody's trying to gel. You lose Bulaga. You have Storm Norton halfway through the game, and you're facing the best defensive front you're going to face all year. So you know what? Let's not put our linemen in a position to lose. Let's not put our quarterback in a position to lose. Let's just, because, hey, Herbert's pretty good anyway. He doesn't need play action to be good. It's great. We're going to install it in our offense eventually. He doesn't need that to be great. So I'll tell you what, let's ditch play action for this game because we know that they're good at it. Let's definitely ditch the bootleg play action passes. And let's just stick with what we're good at. Right, from shotgun, maybe some play action from shotgun. And we're going to throw it quickly. We're going to help our quarterback. We know our receivers are better than your DBs and your linebackers. So we're going to throw it quick and they'll have no chance. And what happened? Allen, Sweat, Young, pass rush productivity of 6.7, 3.1, and 1.3. As I said in one of my tweets, Larry English in his final season with the Chargers had a pass rush productivity of 6.3. And the Chargers held Allen, Sweat, and Young to pass rush productivity of 6.7, 3.1, and 1.3. And they had 5 guys with a pass rush productivity of 0. But that's the kind of advantage you have when you understand that you feel confident that your team can do certain things. They don't have to rely on one look, one concept. And when you know how to game plan and prepare for an opposing defense. And again, some of it is kind of duh, right? Don't hold on to the ball for a long time versus a very strong defensive front. That's stupid. But the fact that they also, I'm assuming, knew, the Washington football team was good against these looks. And so they basically tossed those looks out for this game in favor of quick, short passes, play action from shotgun, whatever. That led to the offense looking so good. They were so prepared for this game. You could tell, other than the drops, the offense was freaking crisp. And the defense couldn't do anything. Let's go through it. They had 5 pressures from their 3 best pass rushers. Allen, Sweat, and Young, 5 pressures. It couldn't have gone any better. And granted, yes, some of that is because the ball was out so quickly. So it's like, oh, well, they didn't have a chance to win against their linemen. That's the point. That is the point of what they were doing. Let's not set up Slater to have to block Chase Young for 4 seconds at a time, for 3.09 seconds. Let's give him, you can hold on to your block for 2.39 seconds. Hold on to your block for 2.39 seconds. We'll reward you because we'll get that first down. That's it. So I just love learning about this. I love learning that not only was it just kind of a no-dur kind of scenario going into the game, but it was also something that I really think they knew because of the analytics, because of that deep dive going into it. They knew that the Washington football team was good against this look. And so they said, screw it. Why force ourselves to bang our heads against a wall, to punch a brick wall? Let's just do something else because we're good at many things and our receivers are really good. Let's just hold our blocks for 2.39 seconds and whoop their ass. And frankly, if the balls weren't dropped, it could have been like a 30-16 game. I mean, they generally almost could have blown out the Washington football team on the road. It's just great knowing that moving forward, whether it's the Chiefs or the Cowboys or the Broncos, whatever, whoever it is, that the Chargers, and again, I'm guessing here, I don't know for sure that this is what they did, but it's good to know that moving forward, the Chargers are going to understand what the opposing defense is good at and potentially work around that, right? It's not just, well, here's what we're good at, here's our scripted plays, and then we're going to kind of wing it and just see what works in game. No, they're going to go into each game with a plan here. And again, I don't know for sure that they knew this ahead of time, but I'm really going to assume that this coaching staff, considering how good the offense looked and how much they've said that they're going to embrace the analytics and the data and the percentages and whatever, it's cool to know that the Chargers are going to understand this before every game and know their advantages and their disadvantages of their offense versus the defense. So I'm very encouraged by this. It's no wonder that the offense looked very good. And moving forward, I feel good about it because they are going to understand what it takes to win, even if it means throwing out something that they're supposedly going to be very good at. Again, we don't know yet. I don't know if they're going to be good at these bootleg passes or they're generally in their play action passes. But it's good to know that the Chargers are going to say, listen, the opposing defense is very good against this look. So why give them what they want? Let's do something else. And they beat them up on Sunday, and that's why they got the win. All right, guys, that was honestly pretty fun to go through, in my opinion. I love seeing, again, I'm not really much of an analytics guy, but I like some logic and I like the flow of it. And then the statistics to back, right? You can just tell that the Chargers are thinking very logically using, what they're good at, obviously their football knowledge, but also the stats. And they're really working together to create the best offense possible. And it worked. That's going to work moving forward. Can't wait to watch it. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, bolt up.